Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and to today's video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different from what I normally do. It's going to be a draw my life video. This is something that I don't see a ton of people doing anymore, especially not in the ASMR community, but I thought it would be something fun that we could do. It is just to give you guys a little bit more background about my life and everything leading up to this point. So, with that said, I know a lot of people use a whiteboard and markers for these videos, but I unfortunately do not have access to either of those things. So, I am screen recording it on my iPad and using my pencil. With that said, let's go ahead and hop into it. Let me get started by erasing everything I've got on the screen here already. Let's start things off by letting you guys know where I was born. It was in a small town in East Tennessee called Morristown. Obviously, I cannot write. Golly, I can't switch to my eraser either. There we go, Tennessee. Now, it is in East Tennessee, like I said. Can't draw Tennessee, so it is roughly over here somewhere, about an hour northeast of Knoxville. The only thing significant about Morristown, Tennessee, is that for a very long time it was the drug capital of Tennessee. I don't know if it's still that anymore, but that's what it was. Now, just like everyone, I was born in a hospital. Wasn't anything significant about that either. Just a regular old hospital. The only thing significant about that day is my mom told me all the time growing up was that it was super hot on that day. So the sun was beating down, making everything kind of hot. Now, they were in the hospital that day, so they didn't have to deal with it too much, but a lot of our relatives were talking about how hot it was that day. So let me get all that erased. Now, getting into my life a little bit, there wasn't anything too spectacular about my life. I actually lived a pretty boring, normal suburban life. Just lived in a regular house. We actually lived out in the woods. So we had a lot of trees around. Because we were out in the forest. The only things that were really cool about this area was I had a trampoline that I would go out to and play with my siblings. We had a tree house that was in one of the trees next to the trampoline, actually. We jumped off of the tree house many times to land on the trampoline. That was probably one of the dumber things that me and my siblings did growing up. And we also had 2 dogs. Please excuse my terrible drawing. That looks more like an ant than a dog, but that's what my dogs look like. We had 2 of those things. I'm not going to draw another one because you guys get the idea, and clearly I cannot draw dogs. But that is where I grew up for the first few years of my life, and while I was there, I had 2 older siblings. One was my older sister, my older half-sister, and then I had my older half-brother, and then there was me, and then there was my younger full brother. So, after a few years of living out in the woods, living basically the good old country life, we actually started to build our own house. Now, while we were building the house, we actually had to live in a camper that my mom and dad had. We lived in this thing for a year, and let me tell you, this was an incredibly uncomfortable experience, even from a young age. It was very cramped. We had one bathroom. There was just one bedroom for my parents, and then me and my younger brother, we slept on the pull-out couch, since my older sister and brother did not live with us. Now, I'm going to take us back to the hospital for just a second, because when I was 7 years old and while we were still living in the camper, my sister unfortunately had a stroke. And so there was a good week or two that my family and we just stayed in the hospital, just looking after each other and just being with my sister. And fortunately, she actually ended up passing because of the stroke. So that was a very sad time for my family. It was a lot of grieving. We didn't really know what to do with ourselves for a while. We had a memorial made for her. In the house we were building, we actually memorialized her handprint. We had a cast of her handprint from when she was younger. And we put that in the garage of the new house, in the cement while they were building it. So we put that in there, memorializing her forever, and it's still there to this day. So, yeah, that happened. But being so young, I didn't really understand a lot of what was happening. So I was kind of, I'm not really sure about it. Like, I was very sad about it, but also I didn't really understand what was happening. Because again, I was 7 years old, so my feelings were very mixed about it, unfortunately. And it wasn't until I got older that I fully understood what was going on. And looking back at it now, I really appreciated what my sister did for me, because I do remember her playing with us a lot and hanging out and just being an awesome older sister, and taking interest in the things that me and my brothers cared about. So I do remember her fondly. We do miss her, but it's been a long time. Yeah, so sorry to get dark there for a minute. We'll go ahead and move on to the next thing. We got the house finished, so we were living in a nice new big house there for a while. I'll draw a bigger version of the house that I drew just a minute ago. Add an extra window in there, why don't we? So this one wasn't really in the woods anymore. We actually had other houses around us now. We made some neighborhood friends, hung out with them, did all that good stuff, and we started to go to a school that was in the city. And it was in this school where I joined band. Now, when I joined band, I really wanted to play percussion. I was just so entranced by people playing the snare drum and the marimba and everything like that. However, my mom said absolutely no way, Jose. So she actually made me play the saxophone instead. Oops, I can't draw my own instrument apparently. There we go. It's a little bit better. So my mom made me play the saxophone. She made me do it because she thought that the saxophone was going to be a lot quieter than the snare drum or any other percussion instrument. And she also thought it was going to be cheaper. However, when she bought the saxophone, it was actually the most expensive instrument at the pawn shop we bought it from. And then the snare drum that was there was the cheapest. And my mom also, at the time, did not know about practice pads. You know, those little things that make everything quiet for percussionists to practice on? Yeah, those existed, and you could also get them for pretty cheap. You can get them for, like, I think $10 nowadays. But yeah, so that's why I play saxophone nowadays. Now, I carried through playing saxophone all the way up into high school, but more on that a little bit later. When I was about 10 or 11 years old, my parents, unfortunately, split up. They were having a lot of arguments all the time. they weren't really agreeing on anything, and we came to find out later that my dad actually was not being entirely truthful or faithful about a lot of things. So that was a hard pill to swallow at such a young age. Again, it was something I didn't fully understand at the time, and it was something that we just had to deal with, unfortunately. So me and my mom and my brother, we all moved out. So for a long time, it was just me, my mom, and my brother. It was just the three of us, and we kind of drifted around from place to place for a while, hanging out with friends and trying to find cheap places to live. So yeah, that's how that was for a while, unfortunately. But we finally found a house that we were able to afford, and we stayed there for a while, draw another little house. And you'll learn over the course of this video that I moved a lot in my life. I have lived in probably over 20 different places in my 26 years on this planet, which is crazy to me. I don't know if that's crazy to other people, but it's crazy to me. So yeah, we did a lot of moving. Go ahead and erase all of this. Now, on to what I said a second ago. Once I got to high school, draw a couple different things here. Once I got into high school, I joined the band. And by joining the band, I mean I kind of continued on with band. I never really left it. I played in elementary school and middle school, but it wasn't until high school where I really found my love for band. Can't draw that high apparently. This is where I really fell in love with it. I made a lot of really good friends while I was there. We played a lot of really fun music, especially my freshman and sophomore year. My freshman and sophomore year, we got to play superhero music and movie score music for the marching shows, and then a lot of other fun stuff throughout the year. So that was a lot of fun when I was in the high school band. I had a hard time appreciating it being pretty young, but looking back now, I'm glad I got to do those things because it was awesome and a lot of fun to do, especially with the people that I was with. And also in the band, I keep not being able to switch back to the marker. Sorry. I fell in love. I met this girl that was awesome. We really clicked. We had a lot of good times together, and we dated for about I think 8 months. Now this was a really big deal for me because I never had a girlfriend before, and I thought it was awesome. And I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And then we broke up. So had my heart broken, had it for a good chunk of time, and then it just went kaput. It went bye-bye. So that kind of left me messed up for a little bit because for a while I kind of based my identity on it. So yeah, it wasn't fun, but I eventually got over it and we moved on. And then my senior year is when I really got more into saxophone. I really started to focus on it more, started to practice more, started to play more, started to do a lot more things with it, and just really tried to excel at it the best that I could. And it was my senior year that I decided I was going to go to college for saxophone. And the reason I decided I was going to go to college for it was I had actually gone to this clinic at Tennessee Tech. Wings up. The mascot is the Golden Eagles. I'm going to draw a very poor bird here. There we go. Kind of looks more like a duck. But I decided to go there because there was a clinic there where I got to meet the saxophone professor. And let me tell you, he was one of the funniest people I had ever met. So he was the one that convinced me to go there for college and to pursue a degree in saxophone performance. So that is what I did leading into college. So I went there went through my freshman year really with no issues. And then after my freshman year, I went to work at Dollywood, which for those of you that don't know, is a really fun amusement park in East Tennessee. And I actually went to a lot growing up because my dad and his business got free tickets for us, usually a couple times a year. So it was a lot of fun. And then I got to work there while I was in college. And while I was there, I met a few people from a group called Campus Outreach. Campus Outreach. A lot of people called it CO for short. But they, while I was working there, talked to me a lot about Jesus. Now, my whole life, I had grown up calling myself Christian. I had gone to church sometimes and then just kind of gone through life knowing who Jesus was, but never having a relationship with him. But while I was at Dollywood, these guys came up and talked to me more about him and revealed to me more about Jesus' heart for the world and his love for us and just really his plan for the world. And that really got me intrigued. So once the summer was over and we all went back to school, I found out that they actually lived in my dorm. So again, another building here. Now we all lived on the 5th floor, way up here. And that's where we had a Bible study that I would go to that was led by them. And so it was there at that Bible study after about a month and a half being back in school that I decided to give my life to Christ. And from that point on, I have tried to live my life in a way that glorifies him. Sorry, it's going to be a weird drawing. If I just draw a little crown. This is the best way I know how to describe this, but just glorify Jesus as best as I can and give him praise for everything, and just try and show people all around the world as much love as I can through him. And so I've tried to live by that as best as I can. It's a pretty big part of my identity. I have mentioned it several times on the channel. If you've been around for a long time, you know that I have done some readings from the Psalms. Sorry, it's going to be a very poor book drawing. I've done some reading from the Psalms. I did that for a while. I also posted a video pretty early on talking about my faith a little bit, and that I try to glorify God as best as I can in my videos. Now, that may not always be the case. I am imperfect, but I still strive to live for him in any way that I can. Now, with that said, afterwards, I went through the rest of my sophomore year and actually joined Campus Outreach to go back to Dollywood for a little thing that was called Summer Project. This was a 9-week course where we got to work at Dollywood, but also learn how to grow in our faith. So we would learn how to grow closer to Jesus, and how to walk more closely with him and just live our lives for him. So it was a lot of fun, and it was also there where I got to meet my wife. Now, it was kind of funny because early on in the summer, I was actually posted in a position with her. We worked in the rental department together, and I worked with her for a few weeks, and my mom actually asked me, "Do you think you like this girl?" And I told her, no, she doesn't really seem like my type. However, as we worked throughout the summer, we got closer and closer to each other, and I realized I do actually like her. So I asked her out on a date at the end of the summer, and our first date together ended up being the solar eclipse of 2017, where the sun got totally blacked out. So that was a lot of fun, and eventually, oops, I keep trying to erase things and it's not working. Eventually, we both finished college, and then we got married. So let me see here. I'll draw like a little. I can't draw. I am so sorry, guys, that you have to watch me suffer through this, or I have to make you guys suffer through this. I'll draw a little altar. We got married. Had a good time with it. We had a lot of people and friends, family around. And it was a good time. We actually got married out at a place called Duck Pond Farm in Middle Tennessee. So there was a nice big pond that was there. There was a lot of cool farming area. So I'm just drawing like grass and wheat and everything. But it was really cool. It was actually a lot of fun to get married at this place. They had a nice big pavilion that we got to eat at and under. So overall, it was a lot of fun, and it was a good, I think it was a good place to have our wedding. So that is where we got married. And then after we got married, we joined a good church for us that we met a lot of friends at. So we just kind of stuck around with them for a while. We've been with that church ever since then. We've been with it for 2019. We have a good time. It's a really good family for us. We get to go out and serve the community pretty frequently. We get to serve others inside of our church. And we've just loved being a part of that community for as long as we've been there. So that's the good thing that has happened, or one of the good things that's happened since we've been married. One of the bad things is I have kind of just jumped from job to job to job to job to job since we've been married. It's been hard for me to hold down a job. There's been things where I don't like the wage, or I don't like the boss, or I don't like the hours, and so on and so forth. And it's taken me a lot of time to just learn to get over these things. It's something I've had to work on over the last few years. And I think I've finally done a pretty good job of finally landing at a place that I really like. I've been happy at for the last while, but I'll get more into that in just a second. After my wife and I had been married for a few years, you guys know this already, but we finally had a baby around this time last year. Now, he is the cutest little bundle of joy that you will ever see, and no one can argue with me on that. If you do, then you are wrong. Yeah, so that was around this time last year, and it is hard to believe that he is already over a year old. That's crazy. He is technically a toddler now, but he's been great. I love watching him grow up. It's been awesome seeing him just become his own little person, seeing him grow into a personality. Yeah, I've just loved getting to know my son more and more every single day. So that is a little bit about our kid. And now, where I'm at currently as far as job goes, I am working at a high school in the CDC department. Now, for those of you that don't know, that stands for Comprehensive Development Classroom. It's also what a lot of people still call a SPED classroom, or special education classroom. So I get to work with kiddos all day long and help them with their homework, help them with just going out to classes and doing whatever else they need done throughout the day. And it has been, I don't know what I'm drawing there, but it has been a lot of fun. I have really enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it a lot when I was first joining it. It was definitely going to be different for me because I had never done anything like that before. But now that I have been in it for a while, I absolutely love it. And it hasn't necessarily taken precedent over saxophone playing or music in general. I actually also help out with the band at the school I am at. Can't spell either, apparently. So what I do with the band is I just help them with their marching technique. I help them with their music. I help them if the band directors need me to run and get anything, I do that for them. And that is also a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing both of these things, and they are really good spots for me right now. I would not trade them for anything right now. Uh, yeah, and that is everything that has led up to this point in my life. So, as we are closing, I just wanted to say thank you guys for staying until the end of this video. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about me. If you have any more questions, please feel free to let me know about what I do or about anything going on in my life. If you have any questions about Christianity or anything like that, I want to be a little bit more open about that. I don't want to push anything. I don't want to push anyone away with it or anything like that. It's just something that I want to be more willing to talk about with other people, because I feel like a lot of people give Christianity a bad rap nowadays, just because there are unfortunately a lot of hateful people out there, and a lot of very, very bad depictions of Christians in movies and television shows and other media. But yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about it more, I will happily talk to you about it. But again, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and if you stayed until the end, I greatly appreciate it. And lastly, please don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and of course, the most important thing, don't forget the Nate word. Thanks, guys. See you around.